is well versed in every kind of creation. In these verses, the Quran addresses a common doubt regarding the resurrection of the dead. It often stems from failure to acknowledge the humble origins and the power of God. This centers around a conversation between Prophet Muhammad and a polytheist who is called Ubay ibn Khalaf. He challenges the idea of resurrection with a vivid example. The verse begins by reminding individuals about their beginnings. They were created from a mere sperm drop. This is a stark reminder that serves to humble human beings and invites them to reflect on their origins. By emphasizing that humans emerge from something so insignificant, the Quran highlights the miraculous nature of life itself. The origin is crucial in countering the arrogance and skepticism that can lead to disbelief in the concept of the Day of Judgment. The challenge of Ubayd ibn Khalaf was that he came to the Prophet and presented him with a decayed bone, asking him who could bring it back to life. This act symbolizes the broader doubts held by some regarding the feasibility of resurrection after death. His challenge reflects a common theme in human discourse: the tendency to question the divine when faced with the tangible realities of decay and morality. The Quran responds powerfully to this skepticism by stressing the importance of remembering one's creation. It emphasizes that forgetting one's origin is a significant factor that leads to disbelief. The reminder that God created humans from nothing and has the power to revive them from decayed bones, underscores the Quran's argument that if he can bring life from non-existence, he can definitely bring life back to decayed bones. This passage also explores themes of human arrogance and forgetfulness. The contrast between the insignificant origins of humanity and the tendency to dispute divine power illustrates a broader human condition. Many people often forget the divine source of their existence and the power behind their creation. This forgetfulness often leads to doubts and a sense of superiority over the divine. The verses reinforce that God's omnipotence and knowledge are essential to the belief in resurrection. If God created life from nothing, then reviving decayed bones is a minor feat in comparison. This assertion serves to bolster faith in God's capabilities. It also encourages individuals to trust in His wisdom and authority over life and death. The passage serves as a profound reminder of God's authority and reality of resurrection. It urges individuals to reflect on their beginnings and consider the implications of their existence. The Quran invites people to recognize that life is not a merely series of random events. But it is a part of the divine plan that includes accountability and resurrection. In conclusion, these verses challenge human doubts about resurrection by highlighting the origins of humanity as humble and insignificant. They illustrate a conversation that captures the essence of doubt and belief, emphasizing the same God who created life can indeed resurrect the dead. By reminding individuals of their beginnings, the Quran calls for introspection and recognition of God's supreme authority over life and death. This encourages people to strengthen their faith and remain mindful of their origins, reinforcing the essential belief in resurrection as a reality that will be manifested. Through understanding our place in creation and acknowledging God's omnipotence, we can cultivate a deeper sense of purpose and connection to the divine. A bit.
So, you spoke of this doubt that Ubay ibn Khalaf had, and he brings this piece of bone. So that gives us a good context to where this is coming from. These doubts is coming from someone who doesn't believe. But is there another example of someone who does believe, who never had doubt but still wanted further elaboration in the Quran, a story? There's a few stories, but is there one story that comes to mind where someone who was close to Allah, who would ask Allah, how would you raise the dead when everything is like bones, for example?
No, not really.
Okay. Maybe do you know the story of Uzair, for example? Or
No.
Okay.
You finish?
No, I haven't finished. But
No, finish it.
Okay.
Yeah. Exhausting.
Okay. How much time do we have for the questions?
Altogether 15 for first ayah, 15 minutes and 15 minutes for the second.
Okay, we have total half an hour. So we have okay. So when Allah speaks of this, what you mentioned briefly towards the end of how this verse gives a practical lesson, but would you be able to elaborate in your day-to-day life? We recite Surah Yasin quite often and we're familiar with these verses, but how can we implement these two verses in our lives in a more common level?
We could read like more explanations about his powers and stories about the creation of humans and see evidence for it to kind of like change our minds and strengthen it a bit more.
But what do you
to
think?
Reinforce.
All right. So what do you think is the thing being denied that Allah is saying is going to happen?
The Day of Judgment.
Day of Judgment. Before that?
The Imam Mahdi.
No. The Day of Resurrection.
Oh.
Yeah. The judgment will come after the resurrection. So the actual coming back to life. The actual coming back to life, that's something that was rejected. That how will these dissipated and decayed bones and bodies will come back together. So this is, when you look at the Quran, you see what is the thing being denied that Allah then is refuting, Allah is answering. And that is the key message there, yeah? Or that the day of resurrection will happen. But there are obstacles in understanding the day of resurrection. Why, as Muslims, might we forget?
Maybe because we only really care about this world and see, because we don't know about what's going to happen, we haven't experienced it.
Yes. So it's distant, yeah? We don't see it in front of us, we don't see. So it's not something that we're seeing with other people, we're not experiencing, others are not experiencing, and those who go there never come back. Yeah? So that's a reason why we might need a reminder. It's not just for Ubay ibn Khalaf and such people, it's for us as well. تفضل يا شيخ.
Thank you, Husayn. You've done very well. The presentation is impressive. I have few questions just to make sure we are all on the same page. Otherwise, you've done well. So the first question I have for you, Husayn, is a very simple question. What do you think are the reasons for the revelation of these verses?
The fact that Ubayd ibn Khalaf was challenging him, and Allah wanted to reveal more, like in a more simpler way.
What was the challenge?
How the idea of resurrection will actually happen.
Okay, and then what did Allah say in response to that?
Is it like the translation or?
Yeah, the translation is also okay. Yeah. What did Allah say in response to the challenge posed by Ubay?
And he makes comparisons for us and forgets his own origin and creation. He says, who can give life to the dry bones and the decomposed ones at that? Say, he will give them life, who created them for the first time, for he is well versed in every kind of creation.
Very good. Second question, Husayn. When you look at these two verses, what are the subjects these two verses are talking about? Just subject, the topic of these two verses.
It's about the first one is about the question and the challenge of the day of resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is the answer to the challenge.
Like what?
It's the answer, which is he will give them life who created them for the first time.
Yeah.
And then it mentions,
So if you look at the first one, you've given me one answer. It's talking about the day of resurrection. Beautiful. It's a topic of the resurrection. What's the other topic? When you look at the last verse, قُلْ يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. It gives you also another topic. Which topic is that?
It's the creation.
Uh-huh.
And it's describing Allah as well versed.
Very good. So when we talk of creation, what are we talking about?
When humans were made.
The beginning. Excellent. So the first verse discusses the ending, and the last verse is discussing the beginning. Very important. You've done well. Let's go to my third question. Chapter Yasin is given a special name. And this name is from the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. What's the name of chapter Yasin? What does it represent when it comes to Quran?
The heart of the Quran.
The heart of the Quran. Excellent. Why is it called the heart of the Quran? MashaAllah.
It's it's got many benefits.
Very good. So give me one of the benefits. Why it's called the heart of the Quran? MashaAllah.
Because if it is recited before sunset, during the whole day, the person will be protected and sustained. And if recited at night before sleeping, 1,000 angels will protect him from any accursed Satan.
Very good, Husayn. So it's called the heart of the Quran because reciting it or understanding it, it gives you everything about the Holy Quran. And you get the reward from Allah. I think time is up. We'll still have another verse with you. Thank you, Abbas.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أم نجعل الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كالمفسدين في الأرض أم نجعل المتقين كالفجار. صدق الله العلي العظيم. The verses in the question delve into profound themes concerning the purpose of creation, the nature of justice, and the fundamental distinctions between the righteous and the wicked. Central to these discussions is the assertion that existence is not aimless, rather it is imbued with divine purpose rooted in truth and justice. The Quran emphasizes that the universe operates according to a purposeful design. Everything that exists serves an aim, which includes education and spiritual development. This understanding shapes our perspective on life and our responsibilities within it. Rather than viewing the world as a random occurrence, these verses encourage us to recognize that life is a test, with each action holding significance in the grand scheme of creation. A critical aspect highlighted in these verses is the importance of justice in governance. If the universe has a purpose, then the systems that govern human society must also align with this purpose. Governments should promote truth, justice, and the moral development of the individuals. This reflection leads to a critical question. Should those who do good be treated the same as those who commit mischief? The Quran answers this question unequivocally. Wisdom dictates that the righteous and the wicked cannot be equal. This differentiation between the righteous and the wicked points to a broader theme of accountability. The necessity of a day of reckoning is underscored in these verses. Without a belief in accountability, the moral fabric of the world would unravel. The existence of justice, where good is rewarded and bad is punished, is essential for a meaningful life. If individuals who commit wrongs were not held accountable, it would lead to chaos and undermine the very purpose of creation. The verses further elaborate on the need for belief in resurrection and the afterlife. This belief is not merely an abstract idea, but a foundational element that supports the concept of divine justice. If the wicked often thrive in this world without consequence, then divine wisdom appears compromised. Thus, the assurance of resurrection serves to restore balance and meaning, ensuring everyone will ultimately face the repercussions of their actions. The verses encourage individuals to reflect on their actions and consider the weight of their righteousness. By affirming that believers who engage in good deeds should not be treated like mischief makers, the Quran challenges us to adopt a mindset rooted in moral accountability, which is judging that someone is responsible for their actions. This perspective is crucial, not only for personal growth, but also fostering a just society. In conclusion, the verses that are discussed here assert that existence has a divine purpose anchored in truth and justice. They emphasize the critical role of accountability and the necessity of a day of reckoning, because everyone needs to be rewarded or punished for their actions. By understanding the differences between the righteous and the wicked, we are reminded of our responsibilities as individuals and as a society. Ultimately, these teachings inspire us to engage in righteous actions, uphold justice, and contribute positively to the world around us. They remind us that our choices matter, and we are accountable for them in both this life and the hereafter. Embracing these principles can lead to personal fulfillment and the development of a just and compassionate society.
Jazakallah. What would you say, excuse me, a similar question that Sheikh asked, what would be the subject, the mawdu' of this verse? This
It's
is in one word.
equality. Well, no, justice.
Justice, ahsant, yes, justice. So, out of the usul al-din it is adalat, yes, adalat. That's the main, and it's connected to the judgment how?
Because everyone's going to be like accounted and judged on what they've done and be served the way they deserve to be.
You just took a while getting there. There was a lot of introduction about the purpose of life, but just some feedback is get to the point quicker, because you only have 5-6 minutes to give the presentation and to expand on it, yeah? And more emphasis on the actual subject. This verse is about divine justice. That's how you should have begun, rather than, yeah? So you gave information about accountability, yeah, that we're going to be held to account with justice. But what does this verse indicate from the wording of this verse? Look at the wordings of this verse, or if it's difficult, then go to the translation. What should we not be? What are two words that are here that we should avoid being?
Mischievous and evil.
Yes, mischievous. Do you know which Arabic word relates to this?
No.
Okay. And evil. It's easier because it's the last word.
Kal-Fujjar.
Yeah, al-Fujjar. Okay. So there's some key words sometimes in the verses, the Arabic words. So it'll be helpful to highlight them. Yeah. So this emphasizes justice, divine justice. Would you be able to explain the Shia belief of divine justice in just a couple of sentences? Yeah. When we say, as we count usul al-din, Tawheed, Adal or Adala, Nabuwa, Imama, Qiyamah, we have Adal or Adala. How would you describe it?
As treating rewarding or punishing someone the way they deserve to be
Ahsant.
because of what they've done.
Okay, not just what they've done, but also look at the verse. What are the two things that are very important at the start of this verse?
Believing and righteousness.
Yes, belief and good deeds. Righteousness is good deeds. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you spoke about righteousness, a lot of emphasis on that. As a Muslim, as a mu'min, yes. But the overall message is that both things, righteousness cannot truly happen without iman, without the faith and the belief, okay, without being believers. And they have, at least we should put the equal weighting for both of them. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Yeah? I'll stop.
Thank you so much, Hussain. So I have a few questions for you. You ready?
Okay.
Inshallah. Well done. So my first question, Hussain, who is this verse talking about?
Um, it refers to the life history of Prophet Dawood, Prophet Sulaiman, and Prophet Ayub.
Very good. Tell me something about Prophet Dawood in this verse. If you can.
Allah had given it to Prophet Dawood as a protection from committing major or minor sins.
Go on. That's
Yeah.
who is Prophet Dawood?
What was his job?
You heard of Prophet Dawood before, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you read a little bit when coming for this, because I've seen you prepared very well. What was his job? What was he doing? What is he known for?
Is it when he could bend metal?
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. That's good. He could twist it like a candle in your hand. Very soft in his hand. That's good. Any other thing about Dawood? Very good. You've done well. So, my second question is Husayn. This verse, what's the number of the verse we are dealing with? Verse number 28, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it linked to any verse around it, or is only that verse?
It's similar to the verses of Surah Safat, because of the continuation of the current of prophethood during the length of history.
Very good. So this is what we call cross-referencing. When you were presenting, you didn't do cross-referencing. Cross-referencing means what? You will mention another verse or another hadith. Very important. Now I want you to take the Quran. Yeah, you have the Quran with you. Is your Quran?
No. Yeah,
Oh, it's for there. Okay.
from the
But you are comfortable with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 28. I want you to look at verse 26, 27, 28, and 29. And tell me if they are linked or not. Same area. Are they linked, or each one of them is independent?
Each one of them is independent.
How?
No, wait.
Okay, I will wait.
Yeah, they're all independent.
You
They're
sure?
Separate topics.
So give me the topics of each one of them.
So 26
Uh-huh.
is about he made Prophet Dawood a prophet on earth.
And the 27?
Allah didn't create the heaven and the earth and everything in between without a purpose.
And the next one, 28?
About treating the righteous and the evil equally, or whether they should
And
be
the last
treated as
one,
justice.
29?
The book they sent down and meditation.
Don't you see any similarities between these verses?
No.
They are linked. So when you go home, inshallah, you check. They are linked. They're all talking one thing in a different way, but they are linked. Quran, you see, Husayn, it's difficult to take just one ayah and to be able to do justice to it. You need to keep referring. So you told me about Dawood and Sulaiman, but the verse you are dealing with, 28, there is no Dawood name there. How did you know that is Dawood? How did you know it's Dawood? Because the verse 28, there is no Dawood name there.
But on the Tafsir that I read, I think it grouped together.
So that's my point. Because if you look at all the verses you've just recited, which one mentions Dawood?
26.
Ahsant. That one mentions Dawood, but you are dealing with verse 28. So how did you know that is Dawood? You need to compare, you need to look at. So the tafsir, which tafsir did you use?
Alislam.org.
Oh, mashallah. Alislam.org, so it's just peace and peace here and there. Well done, Hussein. I've got one last or two last questions, and then inshallah, we allow you to go and enjoy. The other question I have for you, Hussein, what are the main lessons? Time is up. I think time is up. So just give me one lesson you learned from this verse.
If you want to be amongst those that are righteous and be treated in a more pleasant way, you should be do more good deeds, charity.
So how are you going to do the good deed yourself, Hussein, for you now?
Give more charity, be kinder to people.
So you, what are you going to do? You as Hussein.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you'll do, give more charity.
Yeah, be kinder to others.
So how are you going to do charity? You are not working, you don't have money.
Eid money.
Eid money. Eid is too long.
But I have enough to give.
Oh, so you've saved up?
Yeah.
So you'll give charity, eh?
Yeah.
I will ask your father, inshallah. And then be kind. How are you going to be kind?
Not be rude and...
But you are not rude. You are a solid, good guy. I've seen you many times. But you'll be more kind.
Listen to my friends and...
And your parent, will you listen to them?
Well, yes, but listening to my friends' ideas and not just ignoring them.
And what of your parent?
Do what they tell me to do.
Everything?
Yeah.
Really?
Unless it's something unreasonable.
What do you determine as unreasonable?
Like doing any bad deeds or...
I hope your parent will not ask you to do bad deeds, innit? But you're a good boy, mashallah. Keep it up. So last question before we are still waiting for. How did you prepare for this Quran competition? Tell me, how did you prepare?
So I went on Al-Islam, put them on one document,
Yeah.
and then went through it and removed the extra some bits that aren't very important, and then at the end I sorted them into paragraphs with titles. I made bullet points.
You did it yourself?
With my mom's help.
Oh, lovely. Excellent. This means your mom, she's done exceptionally well. And have you benefited from the preparation coming here?
Yeah.
What benefit have you driven from it? Tell me.
Reciting these ayahs have virtues that can help you.
And then what other benefits?
For Surah Sa'ad, there's a virtue said by the fifth Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, that if it is recited at night by Friday, the person will be given good rewards of the world and the hereafter that have not been given to any people except prophets and angels, and admits them to paradise.
So are you going to do that now? Well done, Hussein. I wish you all the best of luck. Inshallah, next year, if we remain alive, I want to see you more, doing more Quran. You've done well. I'm impressed. Asante. Well done, well done. Yeah, mashallah. Mashallah. Asante. Well done, Hussein, man. Wish you all the best, yeah? You done for this year.
Thank you.
face and camera video thing, yeah? Are you okay? I'm calling Zainab.
Wa alaikum assalam. Okay. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها وسر المستوضئ فيها بأدد ما أعطى به علمك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Surah Yasin, Ayah 78 and 79. Before I start with the Tafsir of Ayah 78 and 79, I would like to tell you a bit about the Surah in general. This Surah is the 36th chapter of the Holy Quran, and it contains a total of 83 ayahs, and it is a Makki Surah. This Surah is the most important chapter of the Holy Quran, and it is praised by all Muslims, Sunni and Shia. It carries 4 strong messages, in which I will be telling you one of them in this Surah. And there are many benefits of reciting this Surah. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has said, Inna likulli shay'in qalban wa qalbin Qur'an Yasin. Everything has a heart, and the heart of the Holy Quran is Surah Yasin. Another name for Surah Yasin is Al-Mu'amma. In the Torah, it is also known as Al-Mu'amma, which means that whoever recites this Surah will benefit in this world and the hereafter. This Surah is the essence of the Holy Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ قَالَ مَن يُحْيِي الْإِذَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ. And he strikes out a likeness for us and forgets his own creation. Say he, who will give life to the bones when they are rotten? قُلْ يُحْيِي الَّذِي أَنشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ خَلْقٍ أَلِيمٌ. Say, he will give life to them who brought them into existence at first. The ayahs I've just recited are a few of the final arguments mentioned in this surah. The Sha'n Nuzul of this set of ayahs, as mentioned in many Tafsir, as per Imam Jaffar Sadiq alayhi salam, these verses were revealed when Ubayd ibn Khalaf and As bin Wa'il, some kuffar on the time, they went to a cemetery and they picked up a bone. The bone was disintegrated and it was very dirty, and he started to crush it in his hands, and it turned into powder and it dropped to the floor. He then started to argue with the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, you say that your Lord will bring us back from this? He started to taunt the Prophet, and he denied the day of Ma'ad, the day of resurrection. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these set of ayahs, ayah 78 to the end of the surah. So Allah answers him with the first. Does man not see that we have created him from a small sperm seed? Then lo, he is an open disputant. Ayah 77. He presents for us an example and he forgets his own creation. Says, who will give life to the bones when they are disintegrated? Say, he will give life to them who produced them in the first time. These verses are very clear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have created this human with a mere blood clot, but he has become so arrogant and prideful that he makes adversary at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهُوَ إِذَا خَسِيمٌ مُبِينٌ. You are nothing but a mere blood clot. And now you want to argue with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is the problem with human beings. As per, we get some power, some authority, and we draw war against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Why should a human be so arrogant and prideful when your beginning is a mere blood clot and your end is a rotten corpse, and in between you can't find the risk, the power, and push away death? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers with وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ. He came and he gave the muscle or the analogy of a rotten bone, that who is going to bring them back when they are disintegrated, and he has forgotten his own beginning. Allah has created them from nothing, so bringing them back from disintegrated bones is surely nothing but a small job for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق أليم. Tell them that who created them originally from nothing will bring them back when they are rotten. Allah is خالق كل شيء. He can create things from nothing, and it is a lot easier to bring us back from bones. He is the one who has all knowledge, and he is the one who has given us knowledge. If a human had thought about this, he would not have made these analogies. Instead, he would have refuted his own argument, and he would look at how he was created. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dictates this answer to Rasulullah. Say, the one who will give life to them is the one who brought them into existence, and he knows all the creation. Allah has dictated the answer to the Prophet. The verb ansha'aha means to first bring into existence, and awwala marra for the first time. He knows all creation, points to the fact that Allah neither forgets nor is unaware or forgets. There is another verse from the Quran in Surah Isra, ayah 49 to 51. And they say, what? When we shall have become bones and decayed particles, shall we certainly be raised up, being a new creation? In Nur Saqalain, it is mentioned that Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam says that when we say Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir, we are testifying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of everything. He is limitless. And at the same time, we are testifying that us human beings, we are ajiz and we are not limited. This is the example for those who deny the Day of Judgment. And Allah continues in the next ayahs to give the answer to this argument that was posed on Rasulullah. The God who has created everything out of nothing is indeed able to recreate you back from the bones. He is the creator of all, the knower. These verses are the answer to those who deny the day of resurrection. The lessons I have learned from this surah are the regular reminder of the oneness of Allah, the belief in prophets, and the day of resurrection. Burhan al-Hikmah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the creator of everything with sophistication, is then not going to hold people accountable of their actions. Burhan al-Adala, everything perfectly, then he is going to hold people accountable of their actions. Sadaqallahu al-Ali al-Azim.
Ahsant, you've delivered a very confident presentation and with a lot of information. But in this verse, would you be able to summarize which of the two attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really stand out when it comes to the subject matter of this verse?
Two
attributes, yes. Or two names of Allah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is khaliq kulli shay. He creates things and he knows everything. And
is there one more? You mentioned it. So generally there are three sifat. Allah is khaliq, Allah is alim, and he is what ala kulli shay?
Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir.
Yes, he's qadir and qadir ala kulli shay. These are three attributes that once you know them, there is no reason to doubt the day of resurrection. The surah, the ayat speaks of the denial of the day of resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other story that you might recall when it comes to not maybe denial, because these were non-Muslims, these were people who were ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا, they were creating idols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but were there any virtuous, righteous people who wanted to see this as well? The raising of the dead, for example. When
What do you
everything
mean? What do you mean?
is there another story in the Quran that speak to this? When it's not just about someone who is an enemy of Islam and rejects Allah, but someone who's righteous. But he wants to see it, he wants to understand this resurrection when things are completely decayed. You've heard of the story of Uzair. Have you heard of the story of Ibrahim and the four
Prophet
birds?
Ibrahim
Yes, and
When?
the four birds.
and the 4 birds.
No? Okay, look into these. Okay? It's a very powerful and resonant message throughout the Quran. Yeah? In many of the surahs, and there are certain stories. Even Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, "I want to see how you're going to resurrect things when they are completely
and
gone."
then didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring back someone from a bone in front of him? And
That's
he brought back from the
Uzair.
dead.
That's another story of
Yeah,
Uzair.
and he brought him back.
brings a donkey back.
Yeah.
He brings him back as well. Yeah. So this is something that's throughout the Quran. Yeah. No, it's not just about the denial of the resurrection, but also just the desire to understand it better. Yeah. So what is the thing that prevents somebody from understanding or keeping as a Muslim? Why is it important to read this verse and remind ourselves of this fact again and again?
Because Allah can bring us back from bones, and if we look into how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, if we ponder on how He created us, then bringing us back from bones, we shouldn't really be thinking about that, because it's much more easier for Allah to bring back us from bones, because He can make anything without raw material. Us humans, we need raw material to make something, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't need raw material, and He can make us from anything. So bringing us back from bones is really easy for Him,
But why does He want to bring us back?
to be recompensed for all the deeds.
Yes, Ahsant, for the judgment, for the day of judgment. And the reason why people reject resurrection is because they reject judgment. Yeah, it goes back to the judgment and the day of judgment. So why is it that actually we have short? I'll pass on to the Shaykh.
No, thank you so much for the powerful presentation, as Sheikh said, with the confidence. So I have few questions to seek clarifications from what you presented, and then we take it from there if we still have some time. So you made mention that chapter Yasin is the essence of the Holy Quran. Why is it so? What does it mean, and why is it so?
Because it's the heart of the Holy Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's very rare that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls such a powerful surah the heart of the Holy Quran, and He has called nothing else the heart of the Quran.
So why is it the heart of the Holy Quran?
Because it carries 4 powerful messages.
Like what?
So one is that it talks about prophethood and how Prophet Muhammad delivered the Quran, the messages, to us. The second is that Allah sent warnings to the people who take the messages of Allah, and He's saying that whoever takes these messages from me, He's warning them that he should take these messages as well, not just listen to the messages, and he should believe, and consoles the Prophet that he should not be upset that what these kuffar say to him and mock him and taunt him, but he should just get his message through, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look into those people. And the message I've conveyed in this tafsir is that Allah talks about the day of Ma'ad and bringing people back from nothing.
Okay, that's good. But obviously there are other chapters where Allah mentioned Prophet and Ma'ad and the rest. What is so unique about Yasin, you've done well, is because it summarizes whatever is in the Holy Quran. So it's the heart. The next question, so it's the heart, it summarizes whatever is in the Holy Quran. That's why it's called the heart. And also another reason is if you look at the traditions from the Ahl al-Bayt, when it comes to reciting Surah Yasin, what reward do one get? That also signifies the essence as to why chapter Yasin is the heart of the Holy Quran. Now let me go to my second question.
Okay.
You made mention that these two verses discuss the final argument. What are the other arguments?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about he says that, does man not see that we have created him from a small sperm seed? Then lo, he is an open disputant. He talks about how man needs to see that how he is created. And he talks about how man can be an open disputant and how he gets so arrogant if he doesn't, and he gets so arrogant when he gets a bit of power. And that describes how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the arguments in the surah.
So these are arguments. Why do you call them arguments?
Because people argue with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they don't believe. So Allah sends these ayahs.
When did they argue with Allah?
The two kuffar.
Where and when?
They argued to the Prophet and they said that he started denying the day of Ma'ad, and he said that how is your Lord, you say that your Lord will bring us back from this. So he's like taunting the Prophet. He's saying that your Lord will bring us back from this, like this bone that's eroded and it's powder now.
Yeah.
And the Prophet says that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends these ayahs.
What's the relationship between the last verse of chapter Yasin and the first verse of chapter Yasin? Because you started by looking at the entire chapter before you went into explaining. So what's the relationship between the first verse and then the last verse?
What's the last verse again?
The last verse is what you are dealing with now.
Yeah.
قُلْ يُحْيِي الَّذِي أَنشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. That's the last verse. And the first verse, يَاسِينَ وَالْقُرْآنِ الْحَكِيمِ إِنَّكَ لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ عَلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ تَنزِيلَ الْعَزِيزِ الرَّحِيمِ.
Oh, I know what you mean. So what's like similar between these two ayahs? So what's the same? Isn't it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the Quran to testify this ayah? He says that, say he will give life to them who brought them into existence at first. And in the first ayah, he says,
okay, time is up. We'll go. So the relationship is, the first verses are talking of one of the usuluddin, and these last verses are also talking of one of the usuluddin. First verses are talking of prophethood.
Oh.
Yasin wal Quran al Hakim. The message is what? Innaka lamina al mursalin. Ala siratim mustaqim, still talking about Prophet Muhammad. So the first verses is talking about one of the usuluddin, and the last verse is also talking about one of the usuluddin. Which usuluddin? The last verse is talking about Ma'ad. This one, prophethood. So that's how you do the synergy between the verses. But inshallah, as I said, time is up. We need to go to your second verse.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. O my son, if there be your deed but the weight of a mustard seed, and if it were hidden in a rock or in the heavens or in the earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring it forth, for verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all subtle, all aware. يا بني إنها إن تق مثقال حبة من خردل فكتن في صخرة أو في السماوات وفي الأرض أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts this ayah with يا بني إنها إن تق مثقال حبة من خردل. O my son, إنها, surely one's deeds, whether good or bad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then uses the word khardal, the weight of a mustard seed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using this metaphor to describe our deeds, that no matter how small they are, even if they are as small as a mustard seed. And if we see a mustard seed, they are the most worthless in one's eyes, and they're very tiny. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that no matter how small your deeds get, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take them will consider them. أَفَكْتٌ فِي صَخْرَةٍ. If they are then hidden in a rock, or deep in the earth, or in the corner of the heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here using the location. It's talking about the location of our deeds, no matter where they are. يَأْتِي بِهَا اللَّهُ. Allah will bring it to be counted in a person's judgment and given recompense for. Inna Allah latifun khabir. Allah is supremely attentive, meaning His knowledge penetrates the depths of this world, and and His knowledge reaches the things that are most hidden. He is most aware, meaning He knows the essence of all things. In this surah, Luqman's first admonition to his son was about the subject of monotheism, the oneness of God, and the action against polytheism, shirk. And he talks about the ring of origin and how these two things complete the ring of origin. Meaning, if we do not have the prime yaqeen on the day of judgment, the day of ma'ad, the day of resurrection, and the oneness of God, it will not complete our ring of origin. So what is our prime reason of existence? And then iman on the day of judgment, so one can achieve falah and success. So in this verse, Luqman says, "O my son, if there be your deed but the weight of a mustard seed, and if it were hidden in a rock or in the heavens or in the earth, Allah will bring it forth, for verily Allah is all settle, all aware." This meaning refers to the fact that man's good and evil deeds, even the smallest and most worthless in one's eyes, that are hidden like a mustard seed, that are worthless like a mustard seed, hidden in a rock or deep in the earth or in the corner of the heavens, Allah, the subtle, the aware, who knows everything throughout the world of existence, whether they are small or big, will bring it forth to be reckoned and recompensed with reward or punishment on the day of judgment. And this is a social improvement, meaning that if everybody had the prime yaqeen on the day of judgment, then it would complete our iman, and then a man would be scared before doing a bad deed, as he would think about the day of judgment and how he will have to give recompense for these deeds. And so it's an effective way of preventing or stopping man from committing sin in this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al Imran verse 5, "Surely nothing is hidden from Him in the earth or in the heavens." And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in Surah Anbiya verse 47, "And we will set up a just balance on the day of resurrection, so no soul shall be dealt unjustly in the least, and though there be the weight of a grain of a mustard seed, yet we bring it, and sufficient are we to take account." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also here uses the metaphor of a mustard seed. This ayah mentions the words of the heavens and the earth, and after the statement of a rock. In fact, all the kinds of meaning of a general meaning next to a particular meaning. According to tradition in Usul al-Kafi, narrated from Imam Baqir alayhi salam and from Imam Jaffar Sadiq alayhi salam in Bahar al-Anwar, avoid committing the small sins, because once they are committed, they will be called to account. And some of you sometimes say that we will ask for forgiveness after, while Allah, the Almighty and the Glorious, says, "And we will record that which they sent before and that which they leave behind. And of all things we have taken account in a clear book of evidence." He also then says, "If there be your deed but the weight of a mustard seed, and if it were hidden in a rock or in the heavens or in the earth, Allah will bring it forth, for verily Allah is all subtle, all aware." Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, "The greatest sin is the one considered small by its doer." The important points I've learned from this surah, this verse, are that considering bad deeds as small is a major sin, and that the man's faith to have the presentation of his deeds in the hereafter is a source of his improvement in his life. If you have the firm belief on the day of resurrection or the day of ma'ad, in the presentation of your deeds on the day of judgment, you will be made accountable and held accountable of your actions, and it will make us more conscientious. And to realize that no matter where I am or what I am doing, Allah is looking, and Allah will make me accountable, and does not let any small deed go in vain. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim.
And you've gone through most of the understanding of the verse. You've understood it well. What I'll ask is, what is the context of this verse? Someone is saying, "Ya bunayya." You mentioned Luqman, yes. But could you elaborate on this? What is happening here? Who is Luqman?
So Luqman, he's not a prophet, as Prophet Muhammad says, he's not a prophet, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, which most prophets have. He gave him hikmah, and he gave him hikmah, and he gave him wisdom, and he was a very pious man. So he was given like the status of a prophet. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a chapter on for him in the Quran, and you're asking for the contents of the context of this ayah. So it's Luqman talking to his son about he's giving him advice. So Luqman says, how he says Ya bunayya, it is a dear way of saying oh my son. So it is like a loved way of saying oh my son, Ya bunayya. So he's talking to his son and he's giving him advice in this ayah.
And does he mention this before or after the deeds of salat and so on?
Yes, he talks about a few things. He talks about having respect for your parents, and so he talks about having so he talks about having respect to your parents, and he talks about the Day of Judgment, and he also talks about his deeds.
Yes, after speaking of the importance of actions. Now, there was more emphasis, I think, on bad deeds that you're going to be held accountable for, even if it's the smallest of bad deeds. But does it apply equally to good deeds as well?
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is like, we should think that no matter how small our good deeds are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not let them go in vain. So maybe even that small little good deed might hold us a good status, or might help us in the hereafter, on the Day of Judgment, and also in our qabr it will help us as well.
Ahsant. In terms of your day-to-day life, we understand, okay, even the smallest deeds can be important for our judgment in the Day of Judgment. So how do you think you can, by giving certain examples, how do you think you can implement this verse in your day-to-day life?
You should think before you do even if it's a small sin, you should think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching, and that no matter where you are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching, and you should cut less on doing even the small sins. And even if you think that, I didn't kill a person, but I just bought a lottery ticket, we shouldn't even think of these little sins, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will help us, and we should do more of the good deeds. And even if we do a little good deed, like holding a door for an elderly person, it will help us, and it will make us be a better human being.
Thank you so much. So a few questions. What is monotheism? Define monotheism for me.
The oneness of God. Monotheism.
That's a translation.
Monotheism.
Yeah.
Like monotheism is like someone who is like worship on his own.
That's okay. Any other definition? Tawheed, monotheism, oneness of God. What does it mean?
So somebody who worships one thing. Like monotheism would not apply to a kafir, because he does not worship just one person.
Yeah.
Or one amazing thing. He worships more than one thing.
Your non-Muslim friends meet you at school and says to you, Syeda, Zainab, what is monotheism? What is Tawheed? Define it for me. I want to understand. Because you Muslims say you have Tawheed. What does it mean?
Having the prime faith of knowing that there is only one God and nobody with Allah.
So this is very important. Having the faith, believing wholeheartedly in the unity of God or in the divine unity. That's very important. Second question, you mentioned prime yaqeen. What is that?
Sorry?
You said prime yaqeen.
We have to have the
in your explanation.
Yaqeen.
You remember you mentioned that?
Yeah.
What is that?
I said it when the yaqeen, which should have the yaqeen on the day of the day
Yeah.
of resurrection.
You mentioned prime
Yeah.
yaqeen, yeah.
Oh, not prime. I didn't say prime.
Okay, fine, yaqeen.
Yeah.
What is yaqeen?
We should have faith. We should have
What
like
is faith? What's the difference between yaqeen and faith?
yaqeen. Like it's like when you know there's like something. There's something after death. So yaqeen is
Oh,
when
you know, many people know, but they don't have yaqeen.
yaqeen is knowing that there is like some people know that, some people think that there might be something. The yaqeen is when you know and you're like you're very fully like you can now
Give me the English translation of yaqeen,
yaqeen.
because that's what I'm looking for. Then I'll be able to differentiate it between just knowing. Certainty.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You are certain. Come rain, come shine, it will happen. I'm certain. It's different from I know it will happen. I am certain. No drop of doubt. Sometimes I know, but there's a bit of doubt here and there. Yaqeen, no doubt. Can you remember a verse of the Quran where yaqeen is mentioned? Because you mentioned this in your translation, that's why I'm asking the question.
Where yaqeen is mentioned.
Yeah, you didn't mention the ayah. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين. Huh? Next question. You mentioned hikmah. What is hikmah?
Wisdom.
Define wisdom for me. Because that's a translation of wisdom. Hikmah. What is hikmah? Because you mentioned about Luqman.
It's knowing.
Allah has given him hikmah.
Hikmah, wisdom is knowing what's right and what's wrong. So wisdom.
Can you remember the teaching of Ahl al-Bayt on what is wisdom? Because in the tafsir of this ayah of Luqman, Ahl al-Bayt salamullah alayhim ajma'in discussed what is hikmah. They define hikmah. If you look at some tafsir of Quran.
Define hikmah.
What is hikmah? What is wisdom? Define wisdom for me.
Wisdom, it's something that not many people have.
Obviously not many people have, I agree, but what is that?
It's like knowing what's right and knowing what's wrong.
Many people know what is right, but they don't have wisdom. They are not wise.
Being
Why
wise
did
is
Allah call Luqman Hakim?
because he was very pious and he had that.
There are so many pious people.
He thought what not many people think. Being
Like what?
wisdom, being wise is when you know stuff that other people don't.
Come, there are many people who know better than Luqman. So it's good. You've got some answers, Syeda Zainab. But Ahl al-Bayt really gives so many unbelievable answers when it comes to wisdom. One of the definition of wisdom is Luqman knew the Imam of his time.
Oh, okay.
That's one. One of the definition of wisdom from Ahl al-Bayt is that Luqman knew when to give advice and how to give, for example. But there are so many Ahl al-Bayt mentioned if you look at this ayah. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ. Allah is saying we've given him wisdom. So it's something massive. So something to, because today the world we live in, many people have knowledge but they don't have hikmah. The fact that somebody has knowledge doesn't mean that that person has hikmah. There are many who have knowledge but zero hikmah. You understand? And this world is full of knowledge, but people lack wisdom. So something to look into, Syeda Zainab, yeah? If you look at these verses, our time is up. Last question and then we're done. Luqman al-Hakim offers something to his son. What did he offer the son?
Advice.
What is that in Islam?
Advice, it's like if it's coming from a wise person.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. But what is that? There's a terminology we use because I want to get the last practical tip for you here.
Advice, for advice.
Okay, advice, man. What did he do to his son?
Preparing him.
What is the meaning of that in Islam? How do you call that, preparing him?
Adala? Oh, Furuddin.
Tips, you've gotten a tip.
I'm not sure.
No, you know. You know it, Syeda Zainab. I think your parents have done that to you also.
What do you mean?
Your parents have not taught you anything.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah? That process has a name, and then the other one is the question I'm asking. What's the name of your parents sitting and teaching you, trying to help you like the way Luqman did? How do you call it in Islam?
Help and success.
Tarbiyah.
Oh, tarbiyah, okay.
Tarbiyah. Yeah, that is there. I'm coming there. That's the usul, the furu one. That's the main one. But tarbiyah. Do you believe your parents gave you tarbiyah?
Yeah.
What tarbiyah did they give you?
Knowledge about Islam.
Very good. And life in general. So here Luqman was giving tarbiyah to his son. And he mentioned one unbelievable furu'uddin. In fact, not one. He mentioned few. But there is one, mention one of the furu'uddin he mentioned to the son. Which one?
Fruddin.
Yeah.
Amr bil Ma'ruf.
Sheikh mentioned, one is Amr bil Ma'ruf and the other one?
And Nahi al Munkar.
Okay, I got it. The other one? Salat. You've done well, mashallah. You have a very, you know, you've got a great potential to be a powerful speaker.
Thank you.
So use your voice and to disseminate the teachings of Ahl al-Bayt. Learn more, and inshallah, you've got that potential. Impressive. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليًا حجة الله أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وعيشي قارا ورزقي دارا وأولادي أبرارا واجعلني عند قبر نبيك محمد مصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلوات الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله استغفر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقوت بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار الله أكبر
سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويعبد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويعبد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الذليل. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش الكريم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم. اللهم لا تدع لي ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا سقما إلا شفيته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا رزقا إلا بسطته، ولا خوفا إلا آمنته، ولا سوءا إلا صرفته، ولا حاجة هي لك رضا ولي فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين رب العالمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله والحمد لله والله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم قوته سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر سبحان الله لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم الله أكبر بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك وأتوب إليك